It's really hard to comprehend. But 4 days from today, unless and until a few extremist Republicans, we hope it's a few, too radical to compromise, could force a default on the nation's financial obligations. The first time ever. Economists say it won't be long before financial markets react negatively to this continued uncertainty. I believe, Mr. President, that Monday is a legal holiday, and I believe that the markets will be closed. That's good, because what I see staring us in the face is not a pleasant picture. Now, everyone should understand that a bad day on Wall Street doesn't just affect these great big banks or wealthy investors. It affects everyone in our country, not only those with 401ks, those that have no savings. It affects everybody, because everyone will lose, not only in America but around the world. The life savings of ordinary Americans are at risk, and that's an understatement. And while this uncertainty is bad, default would be unthinkably worse. But, Mr. President, to show my angst is real, one only need to look at what took place in the House of Representatives this morning. They walked out of another meeting, a conference, a caucus, call it what you want, defiant. We couldn't do anything. Therefore, the government remains closed, and the debt ceiling is every day closer and closer, every hour now. And while this uncertainty is bad, I repeat, default is just unthinkably worse. Mr. President, because of the collapse in Wall Street a few years ago, state of Nevada and all over the country, states were hammered. That was only 5 years ago. Americans lost their jobs, lost their homes, and their savings. So did people around the world. The country is beginning to recover, but it's not in great shape. But the crisis we now face is one of even greater proportion. The government has remained closed now for, I think we're at 12 days now. To think about this, 4 states are buying into programs so that national parks can stay open. National parks, the brainchild of Republican Theodore Roosevelt. It is really so sad what's happened to our country. Defaulting on our debt would risk millions of American jobs. Not thousands, not tens of thousands, not 100,000s, but millions of jobs. Social Security checks would likely be halted. Medicare payments and even paychecks for our troops wouldn't happen. So without exception, the most respected economists and business minds of our time have said if America defaults on its debt, there will be dire consequences. We've heard this from everybody, not only economists, but business people. Mr. President, I was happy to see the Republicans engaged in talks with the President, House Republicans. That's over with. It's done. They're not talking anymore. We learned that this morning. But I say to my friends on the Republican side of this Senate, time's running out. They've urged their more radical members to compromise. For example, my friend, the senior senator from Arizona, Mr. President, that man came to the Congress of the United States with me and the assistant leader. We've been together for 31 years. Here's what he said, sensible words. Senior senator from Arizona, quote, sooner or later the government will resume its function. Sooner or later we'll raise the debt limit. The question is, how do we get there? Why don't we do this sooner rather than later? Why doesn't the Senate lead? To that end, we're trying. We're going to have a vote in 50 minutes on a long-term measure to avert default and give the economy the certainty it needs. I've told my Republican friends, Madam President, allowing the government to operate again, that's not a favor to me. It's not a favor to the presiding officer. It's not a favor to Democrats on this side of the aisle. It's something that should just happen. We shouldn't consider this a time we're doing favors for individuals, groups. We should just understand that the government should open because it should never have closed in the first place. And the debt ceiling, my reasonable Republicans should understand this should be extended, not for a couple of weeks, a couple of months. It should be extended for a long time. We shouldn't have this fight. To think that this is only a motion to proceed to the legislation. It's not a vote on the measure itself. And the Republicans, I have been told, they're all going to vote against this. What a sad day for America. They are voting to not allow us to even debate whether the debt ceiling should be raised. Are they afraid of that? Do they just want this to go away? It's not going to go away. Each hour that goes by, we are closer to a calamity for our country. The economy needs more stability and short-term Republican proposals. Congress and the country must not be back in the position a few weeks from now of worrying whether Republicans will force our nation to the default or financial obligations. And to think, House Republicans are saying, well, we'll extend the debt for a little while, but we're not going to reopen government. Wow, that is so logical and so sensible and so good for the country. And that is, I've said that very, very sarcastically. Senate Democrats' position has been and remains this: reopen the government, pay our country's bills so we can move forward with good faith negotiations on a long-term budget. It's not too late for my Republican colleagues to do the right thing for this country. I'm so concerned that it seems the worry about whether the country should have a functioning government and should extend its debt ceiling is only Democrats. That isn't the way it should be. I admire President Obama for doing what he's done the last few days. He has invited every member of Congress, 535, to meet with him. First, he had the House Republicans. Then he had Senate Democrats, another meeting, and then Senate Republicans and House Republicans who, remember, the last time my friend, the Speaker, was on television, he said maybe, 18 times, I haven't counted them, he wanted to have a conversation. The President took him up on that, invited all 232 members of the Republican caucus to come down to the White House and visit with him. They refused that. They sent 20 down. So I appreciate the President being willing to talk to all of us, and he's done that in detail. The problem is the conversation is one way. The Republicans are not interested, it appears at this stage, of doing anything constructive to extend the debt ceiling, to open the government. Later. That's what they always say.